Yeah, in the middle of the class also you can unmute and you can talk. Okay, if you have any questions, okay, no issues. Okay, let's go. First, I have one small requirement. What you know? Okay, just I want one hello world program using HTML. Okay, simple requirement. I want just a hello world text. I want to display in my browser using HTML. Okay, using HTML render hello world text. Hello world text. Okay, how we can do it? If it is one of the requirement, very simple. The first thing is like you are going to create like one HTML file. Okay, you can create a file. You can save that file is like a HTML. Okay, why it's like HTML? Why not remaining means in my browser one file, only one file we can run. Okay, that is like a HTML. We can run only one file, that is like a HTML. Can anyone tell me my browser can understand only three languages? We can say, what are those? Anyone? My browser can understand only three things. Browser can understand only three.
HTML, CSS, JavaScript.
Yeah, only three things. One is like HTML, it can understand. Another one is like CSS, it can understand. Another one is like JavaScript. Other than that, my browser don't know anything. My browser don't know anything. My browser can understand only three things. Among those three, my HTML directly you can run in the browser. My CSS make the content whatever rendered inside the browser, make it like look and feel. My JS can help you to perform some actions on my content. Okay, so one word answers, if you tell, HTML is used to prepare some content which is rendered inside the browser. CSS to make that content look and feel. Just I want to apply some styling. JavaScript, if you want to make some actions, if you want to perform some actions, then you can go with the JavaScript or not. Okay, let's go. Using HTML, I want to render the hello world text, right? So first I created one HTML file, one.html or hello.html, whatever it is. Okay, the next thing is what? The next thing is what? Simple. Okay, you can take one HTML element based on your requirement. Just I want like big font size, that's the reason I taken like H1 and close my H1. Here I can write like hello world. Okay, now just you can run it. You can run. How you can run? Okay, double click on this one, directly it's going to open in the browser. In the browser you can see this hello world text or not. In the browser you can see this hello world text. That's it. Very simple. If it is like HTML. Okay, now my requirement is changed like not using HTML. Can you do the same requirement with the help of JavaScript? Okay, here I didn't use any JavaScript code, but they asked like what? Okay, using JavaScript also can. HTML and JavaScript render hello world text in the browser. That is my requirement. Now tell me, anyone knows? Very simple. Here again, which file is going to render inside the browser? Which file is going to render or which file is going to run inside the browser? HTML.
HTML.
So first of all, you can create like hello.html file. There is no change. They said like with the help of JavaScript, right? So that this particular content, we should not make it like static. We should not hard code in my HTML. This content I want to render inside the H1 element through hello, okay, through JavaScript. Then how we can do it? Anyone knows? Come on, anyone knows? Very simple. In the hello.html, you can create one element. So this is my element. This is my element. Okay, this is my element. Now tell me, inside this element, I want to place some content using JavaScript. Can anyone? First of all, which content you want me to place inside the h1. Hello world, right? This is the content or not? This is the content I want to place it. So any programming language you can take it. Any programming language you can take it. So how we can prepare the content, or how we can save the content? How we can? Using using variables. So if you want to prepare, if you want to save some content, okay, just you can create a variable. We can create a variable. How we can create a variable in JavaScript? Tell me. How we can create a variable in JavaScript? Anyone? Just you can.
Sir,
Yeah.
first provide ID to the tag, and then that ID is
Yeah.
getting by using get element by ID. And
Yeah, that one we can. Okay, first of
mm,
all, I want to prepare, okay, some content. Just this content I want to store somewhere. Okay, so how we can store some data in any programming language? If you want to store the data, how we can store it? By creating a variable or not. So I created a variable. Okay, now tell me, this is HTML file. In the HTML file, directly you can write your HTML code. In the HTML file, if you want to write some JavaScript code, how we can write it? How we can tell to my browser, hey, this section is belongs to JavaScript, this section is belongs to CSS? How we can? If you write some piece of code inside the style tag, you can say that data or that section of code is belongs to CSS. If you write some code, okay, inside a script tag, then my browser can understand this particular section of code is belongs to JavaScript. Okay, this is which kind of styling? This is internal styling. Same like this, you can say like it is like a internal scripting. So I have the content. Once you have the content, this content I want to render inside this h1 or not. Okay, in this particular place I want to render this content or not. So how we can render the content inside this? First of all, I have the content, right? Can we get this particular h1 element also? Yes or no? How we can get the element reference? Okay, there has multiple ways or there. You can use like a id, as you said. Id equals to any name you can give, hello or whatever it is. So tell me, how we can get the element reference? You can say document dot get element by, okay, id of what is my id, hello or not? Once you have the element, you can store that element in one variable. Once you have the element reference, I want to render the content. Element reference dot, okay, inner text is equals to which one you want me to place, like this content. That's it. This is the way using JavaScript I can render my hello world content inside this or not. Got my point? But this is also not my requirement. My requirement is what, using React, okay, render hello world content. Okay, hello world content inside the browser. So first of all, these two you can do practical. If you want to do, okay, if you want to write HTML, JavaScript, CSS, okay, no files, nothing is required. Just you can open the browser. Just you can open the browser. Okay. You can open the browser. Now go to developer console window. Okay. Whatever the code in the past you have, just delete it. Okay. Edit as HTML, or you can say delete element. Okay. Like this, you can edit as HTML. Control A. Okay. Delete it. Now nothing is there. Just click outside. See, in your browser, if you not write any code, by default my browser placed how many elements? If you write, okay, if you delete everything, but my default, my browser plays how many elements? By default, my browser placed how many elements? three elements, HTML, head and body. Okay, now inside the body I want to write, okay, some code. Now go to edit as HTML, just you can write some stuff. Okay, instantly if you want to write, you can write. Using HTML, I want to render hello world or not. Simply you can write like this and click outside. Click outside. Whenever look outside in the elements tab, whenever you click outside, see my hello world content render or not. Using HTML, it is like very simple. Okay, just you can take one element, place the hello world. But this is not my requirement, right? My requirement is what I want by using JavaScript. By using JavaScript, how we can do it? Using JavaScript, how we can do it? Come on. First, I have one element is there. Inside this element, I want to place my content or not. For that, I'm going to write like some JavaScript code. Okay, done. Tell me which code you want me to write. First, I want to create one variable, right? So how we can create a variable? Now, if you click outside, nothing is there. Nothing is there. In the script tag, I want to write some code. Edit as HTML. Just you can write some code. Which code? I want to I want to prepare some content. Okay, I want to prepare some content. What is the content? Where my content equals to hello world or not. Hello world. This is my content. This content, where you want me to place? If you want to place or store this particular content, some space is required, right? Where is that one? H1, right? So it is nothing but your container, you can say. Terminology wise, space is nothing but container. So I have this content. This content I want to place inside this container or not. So I have the content. I need a container now. How we can get the container reference? You can say document dot query selector. Query selector is my selector. H1 tag name selector. So this is my element reference, or you can say container reference. Okay, now see, if you come here in the script tag, I have the content, I have the container. Once you have the content and a container, can you render this content inside the container? How we can render it? My container reference dot, okay, inner text. What is that content? We already have the content or not? Now if you come here, okay, this is my container reference, okay, and inner text, and it is going to place what? Your content or not? Yes or no? Okay, now can you check why it is not? Now can I copy this one? Okay, can I go to my console? Now just you can run this. Just you can run this. Okay, now see, whenever you run it, my hello world text is like rendered or not? Yes or no? This is by using JavaScript, but my requirement is not by using JavaScript also. Our requirement is what? Our requirement is what? Our requirement is using React, I want to render hello world content or not. Using React, I want to render the hello world content. Okay, now my React is like client side technology or server side technology. React, it's a client side, right? It's a client side technology. Okay, tell me some client side technologies what you know. Client side technology is what you know. How you decide this is like a client side technology and this is like a server side technology? Okay, how we can decide? The client side technologies which are run inside the browser. The client side technologies which are run inside the browser. Okay, so those are, we can say, those are come under client side technologies. Tell me, HTML is going to run inside the browser. Okay, CSS and JS. As you said, my browser understand only these three. Okay, but on top of JS we have some libraries and frameworks also there or not? React library, Angular framework, like this. On top of your JavaScript there has, okay, multiple libraries and frameworks also there. Okay, but my browser can understand only these three things. If you write the code in React, how my browser can understand, that is the question. Okay, okay, then now let's go then. Using React or using Angular, whatever it is, if you want to render the content inside the browser, which file is going to run? That means which file is going to run inside the browser? If it is
HTML.
HTML, right? So that is common thing. That is common thing. So first of all, I need one HTML file. Okay, it's like a client side rendering. That the reason one HTML file is required. So can I create one HTML file? That is common. Okay, hello.html. Okay, perfect. Now, whenever you create HTML, if you run this HTML file in the browser, our goal is like you have to prepare the content using React and you have to render that content inside the browser. Okay, so first thing is like what? You have to prepare the content or not. Prepare the content using what? React. Once you prepared the content using React, that content where you want me to place, you have to render or place inside your, come on, inside your HTML. Some space is required to place that content or not. So I need a container, right? So once you prepare the content using React, okay, place that content inside the container or not, inside the container. So first thing is like you have to prepare the content. Say here in JavaScript, this is my container. Yes or no? I need some space. Is nothing but one element is required. Once you have the container, I want to prepare the content. In JavaScript, I prepare some content using one simple variable. Once I have the container and content, render this render this content inside the container. So get the container reference. See, I get the container reference. Once you have the container reference, you have the content, render it. How we can render? My container reference dot inner text is equals to content. This is it. Okay, JavaScript syntax. But I want using React, right? So first thing is like what? I need a container. So okay, need, okay, prepare container or place container. Okay, we need a container. Okay, container is nothing but what? One simple element I required in your HTML file. Okay, once you have the container and prepare the content using the React. You have the container and you have the content. Now you can render or place that content inside the container or not. Okay, once you place the content inside the container, finally what happened? Okay, you can see the output or not. That's it. You have to handle these four steps. You have to handle these four steps. Got my point? So first thing is like what? You have to create one HTML file. Okay, in the HTML file, you need a container. Container is nothing but terminology wise, I'm telling like a container. Container is nothing but simply, okay, some space in my body. Okay, how we can get a space in my body? Okay, create one simple element that is like a div element, whatever it is. Create one element. Okay, now, the next step is what? Prepare the content. This is an important thing for us. You have to prepare the content using React. Using JavaScript, you created a content like this, but using React, you have to prepare the content or not. So let me, okay, create one hello.html file in our workspace folder. Let me go to that workspace folder. So first of all, install this editor first in your machines. Everyone knows, okay, VS Code, Visual Studio Code is the editor. Okay, this editor you can install it. VS Code is the editor. Visual Studio Code, VS Code is the editor. Okay, once you install the editor, okay, you can open our workspace folder. Open folder. I have already created one folder for us. Okay, MERN stack. Just you can open it. Just you can open it. Okay, now First step, I want to create one HTML file. So how we can create hello.html is the file. See here there has okay new file icon is there now. Just take it. In the HTML file, if you run this one, okay, where I can run in the browser, right? Okay, see the file is this one. Okay, if you want to run it, double click on it so directly it is running or not. This is one way. Another way also there, I will show you. Tell me, in my file, I don't have any code. So tell me, by default, my browser placed how many elements? By default, my browser placed how many elements?
Three
Three.
Three
elements
elements. HTML had the body
at
or
the body.
now in the body, I need some space so that I want to prepare the container. Container is nothing but don't think more. One simple element I require. That's it. This is the one. Now, can you come here? Can I refresh? Can I refresh? Now see this in the body. See the body occupies this total space, right? I don't want the entire body. Just in the body, I need some space. That's the reason I added like a div. I added like a div. Now no content, nothing. That the reason the height is like 0. My div is like a block level element. That the reason the width is like my parent width 510. My parent width 510. Okay. So I have the container done. I have the container. Now I want to prepare this content or not now. So my question is how to prepare the content or templates in React. That is the question. How to prepare the content or templates in React. How we can prepare? How we can prepare the content or templates in React using one concept called as what? Components or not. Okay, using one concept called as a components or not. So using components, I can prepare some content or I can prepare some templates. Templates is nothing but okay, registration form. It's a template, login template like that. Okay, that is also content only. If you want to prepare the content or templates in React, how we can prepare? Using components I can prepare. So now the question is how we can create a component okay in React or not. If you know this answer, then the time you can prepare the component. Once you prepare the component is nothing but you have the content, and you have the container so that you can render the content inside the container or not. So how we can create a component in React? Anyone knows? We can create the components in React like two ways. Okay, one is like using functional components, using function keyword we can prepare. Another one is like using class also we can. Using class also we can. One is like by using function, another one is like by using class. But these class components almost deprecated. The class components like deprecated. That the reason nowadays people are not using class components. Just now onwards you can use like a functional. Okay, using function keyword you can create a component. If you create a component using function keyword, that one terminology wise we can say like a functional component. So nowadays people are using like functional components only. Okay, so you have to prepare the component. You have to prepare the component using what? Come on, you have to prepare the component using function keyword or not. Okay, that means those are like a functional components. Okay, now my question is how to create the functional components. How many ways we can create the components? Your answer should be two ways. One is like functional components, another one is like class components. Class components are like always deprecated, almost those are like deprecated, but still it's working. But in future, okay, those are not support. That's the reason you can go with what? Functional components only. Nowadays people are using functional components only. So how to create a functional component to prepare some content? That is the question. Okay, now the answer is very simple. Syntactically, my functional component is equals to okay, function in JavaScript. Function in JavaScript. Syntactically, okay, syntactically my functional component is equals to function in JavaScript. That's it. Okay, how you write a function in JavaScript, the same syntax you can use, okay, to create the functional components. So how we can create a function in JavaScript? How we can create? Very simple. You can write like a function and then function name and then okay function body like this or not. Yes or no? So the same syntax you can use to prepare what? To prepare what? Functional components or not? To prepare the functional components. So functions in JavaScript syntactically is equals to functional components in React. But there has slight differences there. We'll see that. So if you want to create a functional component, simply you can create a function. So I created like a function like this. Now tell me, for example, if you see this code only, what do you think? In your mind, my fn is what? What do you think about fn? Simply in my mind, if I see this code only in my mind, I'm thinking like my fn is a function or not. My fn is a function. I'm not thinking like my fn is like a functional component. Okay, but do you know if you write the syntax like this, if you write the syntax is like this, if you write or create a function like this fn I can use like three ways. One is like you can use like a function, another one is like you can use like a class, another one is like you can use like a component. Okay, whenever you write the syntax like this, okay, my fn I can use like a three ways. You can use this fn as a function. If you have an idea on whoops concept in JavaScript, this fn I can use like a class. Okay, at the same time, okay, if you want to become like a React.js developer, you have to think this fn acting like what component also. Okay, now see, if I run this code in my browser, if I run this code in my browser, if you want to run the code JavaScript code in the browser, go to the console. Okay, simply you can write here my function fn. Okay, if I write like this, what do you think? You call fn. If you call it, my fn is like what? Is a function. Is a
Function.
function. If you create an object for this fn, okay, to whom I can create an object? I can create an object to the class. So my fn is
Class.
a class. Okay, now you want to use this fn like a function, as per our requirement. As per our requirement, I want to use this fn as like a function. No. As like a class? No. As per my requirement, I want to use this fn as a component or not. Yes or no? If you write some code, okay, the syntax is like this, I can use that particular fn as like three ways. One is like function, another one is like a class, and another one is like a component. How to use this one like a function? I know that. Call it. If you use like this, my fn is a function, but I don't want, right? I don't want. Okay. How to use this one like a class? If you create an object like this, it is like a class. It is like a class, but okay, I don't want this one also. Okay, how to use this one like a component? I don't know, but I want this. Okay, I want this one or not. I want to use this fn as like a component, not as like a function, not as like a class. Yes or no? So if you want to create one component in React, so how we can create a component? Simply how you want to, okay, how you create a function. Okay, you want to create like a normal function or arrow function, or your wish. How you create a function? Okay, the same syntax you can use to create a component. So can you create one app component? Can you create one app component in React? So how many ways you can create a component? Two ways. One is like functional, another one is like class. Okay, class components are like deprecated, so I can go with the functional components. So how we can create the functional components? Tell me. Syntactically my functional components are looks like what? Functions only, right? So you can create a function. Which component he asked? Yap. So that I created like a yap. Okay, now open brace and closing brace. See, this is like a simple normal function only, but I want to use this one like a functional component or not. Slight change is required, I will tell. Yes or no? This one how to use like a function, I know that. This one how to use like a class, I know that. I can create an object. This one, okay, how to use like a component, I don't know, but I want that one only. I want that one only. So now come here. Let me open the paint, you can understand easily. So this is my browser. Open up. My browser can understand only three things. What are those? My browser can understand only three things. What are those? My browser can understand HTML. Okay, next CSS. Come on, HTML. The next one is like CSS. The next one is like what? JavaScript or not. Any code entered into the browser means that code should convert it into either HTML, CSS or JS, or mixing of these three or not. Otherwise, my browser not able to understand, then what is the use of that code? Yes or no? Any code just entered, want to enter or render inside the browser means just before that, that code should convert it into HTML, CSS, JavaScript or not. Then only my browser can understand. So in the browser, I want to render hello world template should create using React. So tell me, in React, how we can prepare the templates or how we can prepare the content? In React, how we can prepare the content or templates using which concept? Components, right? Using components. How many ways we can create the components in React? Two ways. One is like what? Functional component. Another one is like class components. Class components already deprecated. So which components nowadays people are using? Functional components. Functional components syntactical how it looks like? Syntactical how it looks like? Come on. Syntactical how it looks like? As like a function only. So this is my functional component at this moment. Why? Because it's a React, right? Talk in React. Okay, functional component. But if you see this one, okay, I don't have any idea on React. I have an idea on JavaScript only. If you see this one in your mind, I'm thinking like my app is a function. So how we can use it? I can use like this. If my app is like a class, how we can use it? Like this. But now my app is what? Functional. You want to use like a function? No. You want to use like a class? No. How you want me to use this app? How you want me to use this app? Come on. You want me to use this app
Component.
like a component, right? If you want to use this app as a component in React, how we can use it? Very simple. The component always we can use as a element format. Element is nothing but what? Okay, self-closing element or open close or not. Self-closing or open close. If you call like this, my app is what? Function. If you create an object, my app is what? Class.
Class.
If you use like an element format like this, my app is what? A
Component.
component or not. Now see, come to the browser. This is my browser. My function app. My function app. See, If I write like this, is my browser gives me any error to you? Is my browser throws any error? No, right? My browser know how to use this one like a function or not. By default my browser know. Why? Because okay, my browser know about the JavaScript by default, right? So how to call or how to use this one as like a function, my browser knows by default. How to use like a class, my browser know or not? It's also JavaScript, right? My browser know JavaScript by default. So my browser knows how to use this one like a function. My browser knows how to use this one like a class. But I want to use this app is like a function, no. App is like a class, no. App is like a component. So how the component is looks like? As like an element format. Now see, is my browser knows how to use this one like a component? Is my browser knows how to use this one like a component? Tell me. By default, my browser knows how to use this one like a function, JavaScript. My browser knows about JavaScript. How to know about how to use this one like a class? My browser knows. Why? Because class also JavaScript concept. How to use this particular app as like a component? Is my browser know by default? See, it gives me an error. By default, my browser don't know. So that, come on, this is my component. How to use this one like a component? Come on, how to use this one like a component? Component is always like what? Component is always like what? In the which format? Element format.
element.
You have to keep one more point in your mind. What is that point? The component is always like an element format. That is one thing. That element should starts with capital letter. Those are the guidelines you have to follow. My component is always like what? Element format. Okay, while using that should be in the element format. That element starts with what? Capital letter. Then only you can say that is like a component, otherwise not. Okay, now tell me, if I render or if I load this component directly in the browser, is my browser can understand or not understand? Tell me. If I render the component directly like this, by default, is my browser can understand or not understand? See this, it gives me an error, right? Unexpected token, something like this or not? Yes or no? Okay, so my question is my browser can recognize this one as a component? Is my browser knows about the React by default? What my browser knows by default?
HTML.
Browser knows HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but you are trying to render what? A React component or not? You are trying to render what? A React component or not? Tell me, by default, my browser don't know anything about the React or not? Yes or no? Come on. That's the reason if you run this app inside the browser, my browser gives me the error like this. So you want me to leave like this. Finally, this component where we have to load. Finally, this component where we have to load. This component where we have to load finally.
HTML.
In the browser only, right? In the browser, yes or no? This component if I load in the browser, then only, right? This content I can use and render inside the browser or not? Yes or no? So finally this component should load inside the browser, but my browser not able to understand. That the reason, if you don't know something, then that time can you take some other person help? Yes or no? To make it understand. Yes or no? Same like this. Here I need one person. Okay, here I need like one person to make my browser to understand, like, hey browser, if you don't know anything about this particular app as like a React component, I can help you to understand. This is like something like React component. Okay, it is gives us like some templates you have to render inside the browser like that. So here there has one person help is required, okay, to my browser to understand or to recognize this one like a component or not. Yes or no? if this person is not help to my browser don't know about the React components. My browser know only three things, as you said: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. My browser don't know about the React components, so that you have to, okay, take one more person help. This person help to my browser to recognize this one like a React component or not. Who is that person? You know, that person is a React library. Okay, the person is like what? React library. Library is nothing but, don't think more about that one. It's a simple JavaScript file which contains variables, functions, classes, all this stuff. Okay, so whenever this person loaded in the browser, this person helped to my browser to understand or to recognize this one like a component. So this person help is required. Understood everyone? Got my point? So how we can get the React library? I will tell. Okay? Okay then. Now tell me, this particular component should prepare some content, right? So how we can prepare the content? How we can prepare the content? Which content you want as per our requirement? We can prepare the content in React using components. So this is the component, but where is the content? Where is the content? You have to prepare some content or not. What is my content? Tell me. Simple. H1 hello world. This is my content, right? This is my content or not? Now tell me. Now the content inside where, as I said, okay, we are going to use HTML, CSS, everything in our React components. Okay, that's the reason prerequisites are like what? HTML is required, CSS is required for writing the business logic, JavaScript also required. Okay, see here. Now you have the content. This is the content. Now tell me one function, okay, or one component. It's like a function only. Have some content or have some value. How this function give the value back? How one function gives some value back? It looks like function only, right? It has some content. This content, if you keep with my app, okay, then the time how it is rendered inside the browser. This particular component should give the content to us. Then only, right, we can render. How one function can give some content back or some value back through return or not, so that whenever in your component you prepared some content, that content you should not keep inside the component. That content you have to give it back, you have to return it back. So how one function give the value back? Through return or not, so that you can return it. Now see, you created a component. Inside the component you prepared some content. At this moment my content is this one. In future that has 1,000 lines of code also. My content may be one line, 100 lines, whatever it is. Once you prepared that content, that content you should not keep inside the component. You have to give the content back. You have to give the content. Okay, how one function gives some value back? Through return statement or not? See, it looks like function only, right? Okay, so through return statements. So whenever you create a content, that content should return. If you not return, there is no use. If you not return, there is no use. Understood everyone? Okay, okay. So first what you did, you created a component, you prepared some content. My component return that content back. Once my content returned, that content where you want me to place, where you want me to render? Inside the container or not? So in the browser by default how many elements we have? HTML, root, the next head, the next body. Inside the body I have a container. What is my container? Come on. Inside the body I place my container. What is my container? My container is like div or not? Yes or no? So inside this container, this React component content I have to render. That is our final goal or not? Yes, no? Got my point? Okay, so first come here and write. How we can create the component? Can you create one component in React? Yes. Okay. Can you create one component, one app component in React? How you create it? Function. Yeah. Okay. You create it. Now, how to use the app as a component? How we can use that app as a component? How we can use it as a component? As a element format or not? Yes or no? An element format like this. Okay. Now, function, yeah, is it the React component? React component. Is it acting like a React component?
No,
No, right? No, right? No. Why? Why? My React component, as per
to start
guideline,
with capital.
always starts with capital letter or not? Always starts with capital letter. Okay. Component should return content. Yes or no? Yes or no? Should return
Yes.
some content. If you not return, there is no use. Okay, how to return content from component? Component, how we can return? Using return keyword or not? So finally, how the component is looks like? This is my component. Okay, you can prepare some content. Okay, that content you can prepare using one line, 100 lines of code. That is your wish based on your requirement. And this particular content you should not keep inside the component. You should return it or not. Yes or no? Okay, now is my browser by default will recognize my app as a component? Is my browser by default? By default, is my browser can recognize app as a component?
No.
No.
No, right. My browser knows only how to use this one like a function and how to use this one like a class. But how to use this one like a component, my browser don't know. My browser not able to recognize this one like a component. Who helps to my browser? Who helps to my browser to recognize this one as a component?
React library.
Okay, we have one library is there, that is like a React library or not. So my React library helps to my browser to understand this app as like a component or not. Understood? So that make sure in your browser, okay, React library should load or not. If it is not load, then the time is my browser can recognize the component. Now at this moment the component is like app. In future there is 100 components are there. Who can recognize? My browser can't. Who can helps to my browser to recognize this one like a component? Who can helps my browser? My React library or not? So first you can check, this is my hello in my browser. React loaded or not loaded? Check. React there or not there? React there or not there? Is my React loaded or not loaded?
Not loaded.
Not
Not
loaded.
loaded. If it is not loaded, then the time how my browser can understand, how my browser can recognize this one like a component. So first of all, can we load the React library? Okay, very simple. Let's go to our React official website, react.dev. Click on the Learn React. Click on the installation section. In the installation section, you can find, okay, download this HTML page. Now see, we have a React library CDN link is there. Can I copy this link? At this moment, after that we can load in the local also. Now come here, can I add this? See this, I'm adding my React library. Now let me refresh. Okay, now can I write React again? Okay, can I write like a React again? Now my React there or not there? In the past, do we have React? No, right? Now let me cut it. Refresh. Now react. There or not there? Not there. Let me do Control Z. Save it. Come here. Refresh. React there or not there? React there or not there? React there or not? That means my
Yes.
React library loaded or not? Come on. That means my React library loaded or not in the browser. Okay, so my React library loaded. That's the reason my browser can understand. My browser can understand this one like what? My browser can
Compound.
understand this one like what? Component. Component. Once you have a component, you have to get what? This content. This content you have to render where? Come on. This component content you have to render where? This component content you
Browser.
have to render in the container or not in the browser only. I don't want to use entire browser, entire body. I have some space, that is div. Inside this container I have to load it or not? Yes or no?
Yes.
Got my point? So the thing is, again, okay, my browser has one issue. What? No, you have the component content. Okay, which component content? React component content. Okay, my browser has React component content. My React component content my browser has. Okay, my browser has container. Okay, my browser has React component content. My browser has container. But here problem what my browser don't know how to render React component content inside the container. My browser know one thing, okay, how to render the JavaScript code. How to render the JavaScript code inside the container, my browser knows. Okay, how element reference dot inner text is equals to content. This is the JavaScript code. My browser knows. But this content, JavaScript content, React content at this moment. This
React component.
content, React component content, right? So my browser again raise the hand is like, hey, I don't know. Okay, how I can render React component content inside the container. If it is like a JavaScript content, I can manage. If it is like a JavaScript content, I can render it. I know that JavaScript very well. But React component content, how to render inside the container, I don't know. Okay, then if you won't leave like this, what is the use? Okay, then what you have to do? If my browser don't know, no problem. We can take some other person help. It will guide my browser. Hey, okay, this is the React component content. This is the way to render inside the container. Like this, some other person help is required. Who is that guy? Some other person help is required again. Okay, who is that person? Okay, one more library. What is that library? This time the library name is like React DOM is the library. What is the library name? Come on. React DOM is the library. React library used for what? React library helps to my browser recognize this one like a component. Yes or no? Once you get the content from the component, take the content from the component and render inside the container, my browser don't know. Who can help to my browser to get the content and render inside the browser? Who can help to my browser? React DOM library or not? So in my browser, now React DOM is required or not required? Come on.
Required.
Yeah, required, right? But there are not there. Not there. So that can I get that React DOM library? Yes or no? Can I get that React DOM library? Now, can I get the React DOM library? Can I refresh now? First, React DOM there or not there? React DOM there or not there? React there or not there? Yes, there. So React library helps to my browser to recognize this one like a component. React DOM library helps to my browser to render component content inside where? To render component content inside where? Inside the container or not. Okay, na? Up to your okay, everyone? Up to your okay? Okay. Now here the thing is, the code, okay, you have to work on it. Okay, now come here. Can I write some learning notes here? Okay, who can help to my browser to recognize this one like a component, React library or not? Okay, how to, okay, how to render component content inside the container. This is the question you should know. Okay, this is the question answer you should know or not. How to render the component consent inside the container using which library? Using which library? Come on.
React
React
DOM.
DOM is the library or not? React DOM is the library. So in my browser, I have the React library. It can help you to recognize this one like component. I have React DOM library also. It would help you to render the content inside the container. But now I have one more topic. What you know? If it is like a component, hello.html, tell me this code is there, na? Can anyone tell me what is this code? Come on.
HTML
By
code.
seeing this one, what you can understand? This is like HTML, right? Okay. Now, app is what? Normal function. It's like a React component. App is normal function, React component. Come on, tell me. Okay. Now, at this moment, if I write like this, tell me, app is a normal function or React component?
Component.
React
React
component.
component. How we can say React component? Okay.
Element
Like
is
element format starts with capital letter. You can say that is like a React component. Simply starts with the capital letter in the element format. Okay, you can say this is like a React component or not. Like self-closing or open close. Any one of this one. In the React component, this code you used for what? To prepare? Come on, content, right? To prepare the template, right? Yes or no? Hello world is my template. In the React component, you used this particular one line of code to prepare what? To prepare the template or not? Used to prepare the template or not? At this moment, one line. In future, 1,000 lines of code also. Okay, na? Okay, then. Now my question here. Okay, one point, one statement. In the React component, whatever the code you used to prepare the templates, that code now onwards, okay, I'm saying like JSX. What is that? Okay, can I repeat again? The code, whatever you used, one line, 100 lines, it's not a matter. The code, whatever you used to prepare the templates in React component, that particular code now onwards, I can say terminology wise JSX. JSX stands for JavaScript and XML. JSX stands for what? JavaScript and XML. Now, see this particular terminology, if I not introduced in your mind by seeing this one, what you can understand? This is which kind of code?
HTML.
No.
It's a HTML, right? It's a HTML, right? But now onwards, what you have to say? This is like HTML, this is like a JSX. The
Yes.
code, okay, what you used to prepare the content inside the component. Now onwards, I can say like what? JSX. JSX stands for JavaScript and XML. It is a combination of what you know, HTML, okay, plus JavaScript plus XML. It is not like all should be there. Okay, maybe HTML, maybe JavaScript, maybe XML, maybe combination also. Now tell me, at this moment, this particular code is belongs to what? Looks like. Tell me. HTML, right? Yes or no? The HTML as part of what? JSX only or not? Yes, no. JavaScript, okay, JSX is a combination of what? HTML, next JavaScript, next XML. So far, okay, in my requirement, you used only HTML, but in future JavaScript we are going to use. In future we are going to use like a XML also. Okay, for example, real quickly I am going to show. Okay, go to the Kalam schools, go to programs, go to React. Okay, if you come to any one of this one, now see this. Okay, here my app is there. Okay, inside the app there is multiple things are there. See here. Okay, pp. Okay, these are like html. Now see result, it's a one variable, it's like a javascript or not. Yes or no? If you come here, now see div. Okay, it is like a html. Box, it's not html element, user defined element, is nothing but xml or not. Now if you come here in the box, name is there, it's like what, one variable, is nothing but javascript or not. Yes or no? Come on. Okay, we'll discuss. We'll discuss. Okay, so my JSX is the combination of what? My JSX is the combination of JSX is the combination of
HTML,
HTML,
JavaScript,
HTML,
JS, and
XML.
XML.
JavaScript, and XML. These three should include a these three should include or optional. Okay, it's like all should not be there. Okay, not required. All maybe, may not be also. Only HTML works, JS works, XML works, or combination also works or not. Yes or no? It's not like mandatory. Okay, HTML, JavaScript, and XML should be there, not like that. Only HTML, yes. Okay, if it is like, okay, the code which used to prepare some content inside the component, that is like a JSX, that can be HTML or JS or XML or combination also or not. Understood everyone? So now tell me, this particular code, okay, what you can say, this particular code, what you can say, this particular code, what you can say,
JS.
JSX or not. This particular code you can say like a JSX or not. JSX stands for what?
JavaScript,
And
XML,
JavaScript and XML. It's a combination of HTML, JS,
CSS,
and XML
HTML,
or
and
not.
XML.
XML or not. Okay na? Up to you, okay? Everyone? Okay na? Okay then. Now I have one small question. It is looks like HTML, right? Okay, I'm telling like it's a JSX. What is the difference between HTML and JSX? You know, HTML versus JSX. What is the difference? Can anyone tell me some differences? HTML contains what? Only predefined elements, okay, which is provided by the W3 people, div, para, like that. JSX contains what? Okay, HTML elements, XML elements, JavaScript also or not. That main difference, what you know, is my HTML code is going to compile. Is my HTML code is going to compile?
No,
No, right? Only W3, okay, World Wide Web elements, what they provided, predefined elements, you can say. Predefined elements, no compilation or not. Compilation. But if it is like a JSX, all HTML elements plus your own elements plus JavaScript code, okay, whenever JavaScript entered, that should be what? Compile or not. So my JSX code should, come on, my JSX code should
compile.
compile. Okay, tell me, is my browser know how to compile the JSX code? My browser knows, as I said, only three things: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. JavaScript code can compile, but is it like a JavaScript code or JSX code? Is it like a JavaScript code or JSX code? Come on, is it like JavaScript code or JSX code?
JS.
JSX code,
JS,
right? Is my JSX code, okay, is my JSX code, is my browser knows how to compile? My
No.
browser don't know. Okay.
no,
So if my browser don't know how to compile, then you want me to leave it? You want me to leave it, or you want me to take some other person to compile it? Tell me.
take some other.
Well, take some other person to compile it or not. Once my browser recognize this one like a component, okay, in the component we have what? In the component what we have? In the
Mm,
component what we have? Some
JS.
content, right? That content should what? That content should what? Compile or not? My React component content should compile or not? Who can compile? Who can compile that content? We have one more library, that is what? Babel. The library name is what? Babel is the library. This is the third part library to compile what? Compile your JSX content or not? Compile your JSX code or not? Yes or no? Come on. Okay. Once my browser recognized this one like a component with the help of React library. Okay. From that React component, get the content. What happened? Okay. Come on. Once my browser recognized this one as like a component, from the component they take what? The component returns me some content or not? My component returns me some content or not? Yes or no? My component returns me some content. That content, how you prepared? Using JSX or not? My JSX code should what? Compile. Who is going to compile? Who is going to compile the JSX code? My Babel library is going to compile the JSX code or not? Yes or no? Once my Babel library compile your JSX code, okay, now you have the compiled version of your code. Now my React DOM library take that code, take that content, compiled content, and rendered where? Inside this container or not? Yes or no? Agreed, everyone? Come on. So, which library is required? One more library is required. Which library is required?
Babel.
Okay, Babel library is required or not? Babel library purpose is what? Babel library purpose is what?
Compile JSX.
Okay, it is going to compile the JSX content or not. If there is no compile time errors, nothing, that compiled code, who is going to render inside the container? Who is going to render inside the container?
React DOM.
React DOM library or not. So tell me, the Babel is there or not there? Check it. Babel there or not there? Not there,
Not
right?
there.
So can I get the Babel? Can I get the Babel? Okay. Now can I get the Babel library? Okay. Now can you come here? Can I refresh my page? Now Babel is there or not there? Check it. Okay. Babel is there or not there? Now tell me. Who
There.
is going to recognize my component in the browser? Who helps to recognize my component, React component in the browser?
React
React
library.
there. In the okay, once my component recognized, my component gives me some content. That content we can say terminology wise JSX. That content you prepared by using JSX. The JSX code should compile. Who can compile the JSX code? Babel. Once you have the compiled code, no errors, nothing, that compiled code render inside the where? Container. Who is going to render the content? My component compiled content inside the container.
React DOM.
React DOM is the library or not? Okay, so all these libraries there or not there? Yes or no? Okay, let's write the code now. Now I have the container. I have the container. Inside the container, I want to place some content. In React, how we can prepare the content? Using components. How many ways we can create the components in React? Two ways. Functional as well as class. Class components already deprecated or
Deprecated.
not. So you can go with the functional components. How we can create the functional components? Syntactical, how it looks like? As like a function only or not? Yes or no? Okay, who can recognize this particular app as like a component? My React library. There or not there? Yes, there. Okay, component used for what? To prepare the templates. Okay, how we can prepare the template? You can write some code. Okay, which code you use to prepare the templates? Which code? Whatever the code you written, that code terminology is what we can say. It's
JSX.
like a JSX or not. It is the combination of what? It is the
HTML,
combination of what?
JS, and
Three
XML.
things: HTML, JavaScript, and XML. Once you prepared this particular content, that content you want me to keep inside the component or you want me to return it? You have to return it or
Return.
not. Return it or not. Now, who is going to compile this particular code? JSX code. My
Babel.
Babel. Babel is there or
Babel.
not? Okay, but the thing is what in JavaScript, my whatever the code, whatever the code, JavaScript code you written, by default, it is going to compile like what? My type equals to text what? JavaScript or not. By default, this particular attribute used for what? This content inside the script tag compiled as like a JavaScript. You want me to compile as a JavaScript or you want me to compile as a JSX? Tell me.
JSX.
JSX, right? That the reason. Don't use type is like a text JavaScript. That is the default. If you not write also, you want me to compile lot like a JavaScript. I want to compile like a JSX. Who is going to compile as like a JSX? Babel, right? So that you have to add this type is like text Babel. Then only whatever you written the JSX code that is like compile like what? Compile like JSX. Whatever you written inside the component, the code that is like a compiled with Babel as like JSX. Okay, if you not write, then the time. If you not write, then the time like a JavaScript. Okay, here only JavaScript is there. No, HTML is there, XML is there. There is some other things also there or not. Yes or no? Make sure that should be compiled as like a JSX. Okay, na? Okay, then. Now I have a component. I have okay a content. Okay, that content also compiled. Now I have some error-free content. There is no errors, nothing. Why? Because it's like compiled successfully. There is no errors, nothing. Now tell me, once you have the compiled content, that content you have to place where? That compiled code, error-free code, where you want me to
Container.
place inside the container or
Container.
who can do that work? My browser,
React DOM.
React DOM library or not? So that first of all, where you want me to place? Line number 5. Can I get the container reference first? Okay, how we can get the container reference? My container reference equals to document dot. Can I give some ID for this? ID equals to root. Any name you can give, no problem. Get element by ID of what? Root. This is my container reference. Okay, this is my container reference. Okay, now this is the JavaScript one, but who is going to do this work? React DOM library, right? React DOM library, right? So that in my React DOM, this is my JavaScript container reference. This reference you have to give to React DOM. Then only he is going to take that particular container and he take the compiled React content and he is going to render or not. So that in my React DOM, we have one method is there. Create root is the method. Okay, he is going to create his own container. Who? My React DOM people. So once he created his own root element, what you have to render? What you have to render inside the root element? This particular component or not. So how we can render? My root dot render. How you can use that component like a element format or not? Now see, my container is this one. Document dot get element by ID. It's a JavaScript one. Okay, if you can handle with JavaScript, how we can write it? My container reference dot inner text something you can write it. Now this time you are going to handle a React DOM. Come on, React DOM, right? So that my React DOM create his own container. Okay, with the help of this container reference, own root element you can say. How we can? In the React DOM library, we have the method called as a create root. With the help of container, he create the root element. Okay, this is also container only, but managed by React DOM. Now inside that container, I have to render what? My component or not. Once you render the component, my component has this content. This content is like compiled. That compiled content is going to render inside the container. Now, can we run this one? Now, if you come here, if I refresh the page, okay, now my hello world loaded or not? Yes or no? This is the way, okay, my hello world template render inside the browser using React or not. Understood, everyone? It's a matter of 3 lines of code only, but okay, this is the process. Agreed, everyone? Can I repeat again? Very simple. Okay, let me ask some questions. If you want to prepare some template in React, how you can prepare? Using components. How many ways we can create the components in React? 2 ways. Functional, class. Class components are deprecated. Functional components, you can use it. Functional components syntactically, how it looks like? As like a function in JavaScript function. That's it. Okay, you can write like a JavaScript function. Is my browser by default recognize this particular JavaScript function or this particular React component by default recognized? No. So who can help to my browser to recognize this one like a component? My React library or not? My component used for what? To prepare some templates. For that, I'm going to write some code. Whatever the code you written to prepare the templates inside the component, that code we can say like what? JSX. JSX stands for JavaScript and XML. It's a combination of HTML, JavaScript, and XML. The difference is what? HTML code is not compiled. JSX code is going to compile. Who is going to compile the JSX code? Is my browser knows how to compile the JSX code? No. Who can help to my browser to compile the JSX code? Babel. Once my Babel compile the JSX code, which is coming from React component, you have the compiled content, error-free content. That error-free content, who is going to render inside the container? My browser don't know. Who can help to my browser to render the React component content inside the container? My React DOM library or not? So overall, if you want to load some, okay, some templates, if you want to render some template inside the browser using React, minimum how many libraries are required? Minimum how many libraries are required? 3 libraries are required. Minimum. Maximum, you can write any based on your requirement. React, React DOM, and Babel or not. Come to the code. Now come here. First load these 3 libraries, okay? First load libraries. And then container is required, right? Place is required, some space is required, right? In my browser, then only my content I can place it. So take one simple element div. Okay. Inside this container, I want to place some content. So I want to prepare some components. So I created a component. Inside the component, whatever the code you use it to prepare the template, that is called as a JSX. That JSX code has to compile. So I use it like type text equals to Babel. Okay, once I have the compiled code, that compiled code has to render inside the container using React DOM. By using React DOM, I create a root element, okay, with the reference of our container. So container reference I taken, I created the root element. Okay, this root element managed by React DOM. So my React DOM render your component or not. So root dot render, what is your component? App component, how to use in the element format, I can use it or not. That's it. Understood everyone? Come on. Any questions? Anyone have any questions? Okay. Okay then. Let me add this running notes for you. Okay, day 1 to till today. Okay, where you can find the running notes, go to the Kalam schools. Okay, and go to the notes section. Okay, MERN stack is there, right? Go to the MERN. Okay, in the MERN stack. Okay, just I am going to add day 1 to till today all the running notes. Okay, here. Okay, the first program I want to share with you. So this is the one. Download the class programs from here. I want to. Okay. Compress it to zip file. Okay. So you can download from here. I'm going to. First of all, okay, can you open the Kalam schools? Are you able to see the running notes or not? Can anyone confirm? Are you able to see the running notes or not? Can anyone confirm?
Yes, sir.
You're able to see, right?
Yes, sir. Running upstairs.
Okay. Okay. Okay, today's program also I'm going to share with you. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, so in the column schools, let me go to the downloads. In the download section, so I am the full stack Python MERN stack MERN. Okay. Okay, this is my job. Okay, don't think more what I'm doing. Okay. Can anyone click on that button, download class programs? Are you able to download the MERN zip or not? Can anyone confirm?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. 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 You can unzip this one so that you can see all these programs. Okay. Daily basis, I'm going to share like that. Okay. And one more thing, can you start writing the programs today onwards? Okay. Now go to the right program. Okay. JavaScript programs you can write. Okay. Now see JavaScript program. Okay. If you don't know, no problem at all. Okay. Just you can note down the question so that we can answer. Okay. Create an async function and return some value. Get the written value using them. Another way is using await. See, today is like 30th, right? Date is like 30th, right? So every day you can get one question based on the date. Okay, first onwards you can start. Okay, basic questions you can get it. Okay, kalam schools. And another one is like in the right test also. Okay, right test also and your post also. We'll discuss about the right test and your post later. Okay, for now just you can work on kalam schools. Okay, try to write the programs, basic programs you have, just you can write it. And in the programs section also, okay, you have the JavaScript programs, React programs on daily basis. Okay, I'm going to complete one topic. Just you can come here and you can okay, you can work on it. You can work on it. You can check the output here itself. Okay, you can do some changes. Okay, you can run the code and all this stuff. Okay, just focus on Kalam schools. Will talk about, okay, write test and your post later. Okay. So for now, your goal is like JavaScript. Okay, complete all this stuff. Okay, just you can go through these programs. Okay, and you can go through these programs. Just you can write the programs on daily basis. Every day you can get like one question. Okay, in Kalam schools and write test and your post. That means you have to write like 3 questions every day. Okay, those are like JavaScript questions on why, because if you go for any interview, JavaScript questions they are going to ask. Okay, the business logic and everything we are going to write in JavaScript. React is like top level, that's it. Syntax and everything we are going to use. But the business logic and everything we are going to write using JavaScript only. Okay. So JavaScript topics we are going to cover. Okay, I'm going to take like some workshops, weekend workshops. You can join those workshops. Okay, you can. We are going to cover some important topics like hooks, like exception handling, like a browser storages, promises. These all we are going to cover in workshops. Okay. Any questions, anyone? Okay, so today I already shared the running notes, right? Just you can, okay, write some answers why we go for React. Okay, write some flow. If you want to write hello world program, what is the flow, what libraries are required, your own notes you can try to prepare. Whenever you prepare your own notes, then the time if anybody asks the question, then the time on your own words you can answer it. It's not like, okay, you learn something, okay, you buy out something and answer, not like that. Okay, if anybody asks the question, then the time in your own words you have to answer. Okay, so prepare, try to prepare your own notes. Okay, try to prepare your own notes. Okay na?
Sir, this was the first session I attended. How many sessions did we cover before?
Yeah, that's like 2 sessions. Okay, that's okay. That's like what content we are going to cover. Okay, those only we discussed. So I'm going to share the videos, YouTube videos. Okay, just you can go through if you want. Okay,
Okay.
this is actually the first session, content
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah.
Okay, just prepare. Okay, if you have any questions in the class middle itself, you can ask, no problem. Okay, feel free to ask any question. Okay, your question may help to remaining people also. Okay, so that you can ask the questions, try to ask. Okay, try to respond in the class. Okay, that would help to me also. Okay, I can understand like, yeah, these people are listening, these people can understand. Okay, like that. So try to respond. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you guys. Thanks for joining. Bye.